At Thanksgiving dinner, my aunt asked, "Is that caregiver I've been paying for still helping your dad during the days?" I nearly dropped the mashed potatoes I was passing to my cousin, as those words hung in the air like smoke from burnt turkey. My brother Keith sat directly across from me, and he nearly choked on his food while his wife tapped his back to help him out. "What caregiver are you talking about, Aunt Janet? I've never seen one there when I visit," I asked carefully while watching Keith's face turn the color of cranberry sauce. Keith had been managing Dad's care ever since the dementia diagnosis 14 months ago, and he always assured me everything was running smoothly whenever I called to check in during my brutal work schedule at the hospital. Janet looked between us with growing concern. "The one from the specialized memory care agency. They charge $400 a day." Janet pulled out her phone and started scrolling through her banking app with the confidence of someone about to prove a point that nobody wanted proven. "I've been sending Keith $3,500 every single month since March to cover the daily care while you work your nursing shifts." My stomach dropped through the floor and probably hit the basement when I saw the transaction history she turned toward me, showing 8 months of transfers that added up to $28,000. Keith tried to speak, but only managed to make a choking sound while his wife suddenly became very interested in arranging food on their toddler's plate. "The caregiver comes at different times because Dad's schedule varies," Keith finally managed to croak out weakly. Janet immediately dialed the agency and put them on speaker, while the entire table of 12 family members fell silent. "Good afternoon. How may I help you?" the receptionist answered professionally. "I need to verify services for my brother," Janet said with the determination of a prosecutor. "Let me check our system," came the response, followed by keyboard clicking, and then a pause that stretched too long. "I'm sorry, but we've never had any clients at that address in our records." The silence that followed could have suffocated everyone at that table while I processed what this actually meant for my vulnerable father. "Keith, you told me Dad was thriving with his daily help," I said. He shifted in his seat and avoided eye contact while muttering something about Dad not really needing that much supervision anyway. "I stop by when I can," he offered pathetically, even though he lived 45 minutes away and worked 60-hour weeks at his construction company. "You stop by when you can?" I repeated while standing up so fast my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "Dad has dementia and weighs 130 pounds because he forgets to eat, and you stop by when you can?" The memories crashed over me in waves of horrifying clarity, including finding the gas stove left on during my lunch break 3 weeks ago, and Dad wearing the same clothes I'd seen him in 5 days earlier. There was also the expired milk I kept throwing away, the medications still in their bottles untouched, and the bruises on his arms from falls he couldn't remember taking. "Where did the money go, Keith?" Janet demanded while grandmother started crying into her napkin. Keith's wife suddenly stood up and tried to leave, but Janet blocked her path with the authority of someone who had raised 6 kids and buried 2 husbands. "We invested some of it," Keith finally admitted, and his voice had the audacity to sound defensive. "My wife started an essential oils business that's definitely about to take off, and I made her a few Botox appointments. Looking good is an investment in our future. We also got coffee enema treatments at that wellness center downtown because the instructor said toxins were killing us slowly, and we took the kids to Disney 3 times this year because childhood memories are priceless, right?" My father had been sitting alone in his deteriorating mind for days at a time, while his son spent caregiving money on lip injections and luxury vacations. "Dad fell down the stairs twice," I said, while tears burned my eyes. "He called me crying because he couldn't remember where Mom went, and she's been dead for 3 years." Keith shrugged his shoulders like we were discussing a minor scheduling conflict instead of criminal neglect of an elderly man with dementia. "He's fine when I check the doorbell camera. Besides, old people die anyway, so what's the difference if he gets a caregiver or not?" The entire room gasped while Janet walked over and stood directly in front of Keith with the fury of biblical proportions radiating from her 5-foot frame. "I'm putting you in prison for this, Keith. I'm going to smile when they sentence you because men who steal from the dying and abandon their fathers deserve whatever hell they find in there. And trust me, I'll make sure the other inmates know exactly what kind of worthless coward you are." Keith tried to stand, but my 3 uncles immediately surrounded him while Janet continued. "Pack your shit and get out of this house before I call the police right now and have you arrested in front of your child." "You can't just kick us out," Keith shouted. "Watch me," Janet said.